shall walk the earth, and my hunger will know no bounds. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, I am a geek. You are watching Kevin the Geek, and we are back for another review of Torchwood. This is probably one of my most watched episodes ever, I would say. Now, if you are new to the channel, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. But of course, we are talking today about Dead Man Walking.
Oh my God! What happened?
Now, this is an episode that is a little bit of a mixed bag, because you have some really, really great stuff in it, but you do also have a lot of cheesy stuff in it. I mean, the design of the death, that was just... it hasn't aged well at all, you know, for... okay, I know it was for TV, and so the budget wouldn't have been as great as it would be in a movie or so, but you've got this awful CGI skeleton that is surrounded by really awful CGI black smoke. It just really looks, you know, awful and dated, you know. But as a general rule, what this episode does well is its depiction of death and the idea of death. Not death as, you know, an enemy or anything like that, but, you know, what it's like to deal with death. And obviously we've had episodes with the Resurrection Gauntlet before. We've had two previous episodes. And originally, Russell T Davies was going to bring back Susie for this episode. She was going to be back in this. And it would have been like a biannual sort of reunion, as he kind of called it in his book. But I'm so glad that she got pregnant, and so as a result, she could not appear in this episode. And I wonder how much this would have drastically changed the plot. I have a feeling it probably would have been quite substantial, because I can't think realistically of a way that you would have done everything you've done in this episode whilst at the same time featuring Susie. The other thing of note of this is that, and I mentioned it last time out, that Owen was not the original victim. Yanto was the original victim. And rewatching this episode for the first time since, you know, finding out about this, it makes me realise what a great decision that was to change it. Because realistically, until you get to season 3, you don't get a lot of stuff out of Yanto. You don't see much other than, you know, in series 1, his you know, his history with Lisa, and then of course in series 2 you have the whole situation going on with the relationship that he has with Jack, even though that it's not really delved into, I think, in this series, not until you get into series 2. Oh, sorry, series 3, you know, Children of Earth. But, you know, could they have done more had you brought in Yanto? Yes, definitely. That is definitely something that could have happened, and we could have learned more about Yanto and his personality and things, beyond the kind of butlery-ness of it all. But Owen is the character who this worked for the most for this storyline that we delve into for the remainder of series 2. Obviously, it doesn't just end with this episode. But, yeah, what we've seen of Owen thus far, everything adds up. And even the stuff that we haven't seen, and again, I've mentioned it sometimes before. Now, of course, what I'm going to say next is a spoiler if you haven't seen the rest of series 2. But this is a show that came out nearly 20 years ago, so you know, you should have watched it by now if you were that way inclined. obviously we learned that prior to Owen joining up with Torchwood, he lost his fiancée. He had a loving fiancée, clearly for a number of years. They were engaged to be married, and she died. As a sort of byproduct with Torchwood, she didn't obviously do anything with Torchwood, but she had some sort of alien parasite or something in her head, and that would disguise itself as a tumour. And so that led Owen down a very dark path, and that ultimately led to the Owen that we've seen up to this point. The narcissist Owen, the angry Owen, the go around, shag anyone, not care about the consequences Owen, because he ultimately just doesn't want to put himself into a position to allow himself to become vulnerable again. And he has been showing signs of overcoming that, basically from the time that he spent with Diane in series 1. And then, of course, you've kind of seen a little bit more and more each episode with Toshiko in series 2. And it was so heartbreaking in this episode that, obviously, the first thing you have is Toshiko basically thinking that Owen has only got a couple of minutes left. She declares her undying love to him. And kind of in the same way to Owen, thinking that there are no consequences, which she should have known better, realistically. But, she thinks he's going to die in a minute, and, she needs to get this off her chest. She gets embarrassed then when Owen, turns out not to have died again. And, of course, she tries to backpedal on it a little bit. And Owen does both the right thing and the wrong thing, realistically, because everyone knows how Toshiko feels about Owen. Everybody knows. It is so plainly obvious, But, he wants to kind of spare her feelings a little bit because she is clearly so embarrassed. And he kind of goes down the right route, but, Owen definitely could have handled it better.
Well, when I told you
Yeah, you didn't mean it. I know.
You do?
Yes, I mean, you didn't say anything before, and then suddenly I'm dying, and it's like, I love you. That's not love, Tosh, that's grief. You're losing something, so suddenly you desperately desire it. Textbook response.
Yeah, but Owen, don't go.
Just go to the toilet, all right? Crying out loud.
Now, Martha in this one, I mean, she kind of has stuff to do, but not really a lot, I feel that Martha was fantastic in Reset. In this episode, and to be honest, in the next episode as well, which I'll talk about next week, she becomes almost a back foot. And it was like she was only really needed because Owen is technically out of action. And, again, this is another example of me feeling that Martha gets done a bit dirty at times, But knowing that she had already been announced as coming back into Doctor Who for 3 episodes, the whole thing at the end for her, where the glove attaches to her face and, ages her dramatically, that it felt pointless. Because you basically knew that that was going to get retconned by the end of the episode, or at least, in the next couple of episodes, realistically, because we already knew that she was coming back to Doctor Who. And so, it felt like there was no stakes to that bit with Martha. Now, had that been that it happened to Toshiko or to Yanto or, Jack even, you could argue that they may have felt some level of stakes, but with Martha, I didn't really feel anything there. But the biggest thing that I think that this episode deals with is its incredible depiction of 2 completely opposite viewpoints on effectively immortality. Because you have it with both Jack and you have it with Owen. And we've never really addressed Jack's immortality realistically in terms of extended life to this point. You've had the odd lines here and there, The closest one maybe, and to be honest, it is in a forgettable episode. Small World in series 1. The one with the stupid fairy goblin things. Obviously, it was revealed in that Jack had got married to, was her name Estelle? It might have been. I could be wrong. But ultimately, the situation with them is that Jack obviously grew older, and he obviously never told her that he, excuse me, that his, that he didn't age, and so when she sees Jack in the modern day, she thinks it's the son of the man that she once married. So it's yeah, we've never really had it. We've had it again a little bit in Doctor Who, but never really so in Torchwood. And the scene where they're both in the police cell. I mean, first of all, I just want to say, why is Jack in there? Because he didn't get arrested by the police, and if he did, why would they put him in the same cell for two people that will fight together? That was a bit stupid. But ultimately, they did end up in the prison cell together, and they were able to have a really good conversation, which was interspersed with a pointless vomiting gag, which I've never truly liked as a general rule. I feel that burp jokes, fart jokes, vomit jokes, for the most part, they're lazy, but I understood the need for it. They could have done it slightly better. That wasn't so much a gag, but for the fact that it symbolises what Owen cannot do anymore. He can't eat, he can't drink. I mean, well, he can, but there's no point to it because it won't go anywhere. He won't be able to pee it out. He won't be able to, take it out of the back passage. So it was necessary, but I think it could have been done better. But the scene that he had with them, that was really beautiful, and the idea that Jack gets to live forever, but Owen gets to die forever. They've basically got the same thing, but their experiences of what they're going to be dealing with, despite seemingly living forever, it's going to be a very different lifestyle. And that just had a really nice dynamic between them. But overall, I do love this episode. And I love the music in it. And I love the kind of Owen theme that they have. That kind of features very prominently in this episode and the next episode. Obviously, at the end, during the sort of the fight scene, you had the sort of play on that, which was the Owen Fights Death piece of music, which I would say, quite equally like them both. But it does depend on the context of the scene. In that scene, a bit more actiony, it kind of made sense. But if you had it, say, the scene where Owen wakes up on the gurney, that wouldn't work. You would need that kind of more softer, more melodic kind of piece of music there, which is main Owen's death theme. So yeah, I really like this episode. There are issues with it, don't get me wrong, but I absolutely love it. What are your thoughts to Dead Man Walking? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments below. Tomorrow, we are doing a Doctor Who review. It is also featuring Martha Jones, and it is the much controversial episode, The Doctor's Daughter. So stick around for that, and also stick around because I have got plans for November, when it is the Doctor Who anniversary month. I cannot tell you much, but what I can tell you is that I will be doing a reaction to Classic Who. Classic Doctor Who, which very little of it I have actually ever watched. And so that is something that I will, ultimately be doing on the channel in due course in the future. But I'm definitely going to react to at least one episode of Classic Who for the Doctor Who 60th anniversary. I can't wait. But for now, my name's Kevin. I am a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.